let's talk about faith. I don't think a 20-minute video on this topic would do justice to just how much I've spent thinking about this, journaling about this, listening to other people talk about this, having discussions about this. I really don't feel like this is something that is that can be properly conveyed through the limited medium that is language. Because whether you like it or not, language just simply limits what we are able to convey. Language limits the concept of true understanding, because all language really is, it's an input and an output. You give an output to a third party and you get an output back. You give an output, you get an input, you receive an input. And this turns communication into a very binary sort of thing. And I'm not going to go down that path because I know I could talk about that separately for ages, but I shall try. I could stick a dictionary definition of faith onto here and allow that to drag me through the entirety of this video, but I feel like that's not really it. It's not. It's just not fair to how deep and spiritual this topic goes. Because all topics of the metaphysical, all discussions of the conscious, these cannot be truly conveyed through the means of language. These are to be simply understood, to be simply felt. These are not experiences that you can go and tell your friends about, because they'll never get it until they have the experience themselves. It's an internal story, it's an internal adventure that you must go through, as opposed to reading it in a book, as opposed to watching it on TV, as opposed to watching it on YouTube as you might be right now. I like to say that I have a profound misunderstanding of faith. And when I say that, what I really mean is that I feel like I understand what it is, but I know for a fact that I'll probably be wrong on this. So I'm pretty comfortable with that idea. So I'd like to call it a profound misunderstanding. It just kind of makes sense to me. Once again, faith is something that you cannot understand. It's something to be felt. If you try and understand it, you try and explain it, if you try and articulate it, you will fail just as I have and just as many others have. I'd like to say that I feel faith in myself. I feel faith in those whom I love, but I feel my faith in God the most profoundly. Well, you may ask me, why do I place such an importance in God itself, as opposed to, as a lot of, kids these days want to have all the benefits, all the perks of spirituality, of meditation, mindfulness, at least in the whole self-improvement community, that we've all just kind of become religious without the religion. But here I'm talking about God. And despite not being too religious myself, I am a practicing but non-believing religious person. I hope that makes sense. I feel like a lot of people would think and ask, why not put this faith in the real world? Why not put it in the tangibility of those around you? Why not put it in the hands of those whom you love, the people around you? Why don't I actually become one with the present and actually care about who is around me and care about the people that care about me? Why do I put so much importance in this dude up in the skies just kind of staring at me? This dude never talks, he just kind of looks at me and he just kind of judges me from a distance. But I seem to be putting all of my energy into this guy. Why do I do it? Well, the thing is that from my understanding of God, I don't see it as this entity that's kind of observing all of us on the ground, someone who exists in the sky. I don't see it that way. What I see is the simple concept of existence, the simple idea that we all exist in a in the third dimension, and we all have these tangible things around us. We have trees, we have plants, we have coffee, which is great. We have we have so many things, right? Like, I can't even, like, I could sit here and I could name all of the things that I find incredible wonder in just by them existing. Even the lamp right in front of me. How did we create a source of light, which is, it's kind of crazy to think that we have these unnatural light bulbs, these unnatural things around us that shouldn't really exist if you think about it. Humans, I mean, I guess we do deserve them because we were smart enough to create them, but up until that point we didn't really deserve them. All we deserved was the sun and fire. And fire on its own is there's a lot of stories behind why and how fire came to us, why fire is the greatest vice of humans. I'd say probably the seed, probably our own brains, our own biggest vices, but I suppose you could extrapolate fire into what is this creative energy within our minds, because that's what differentiates us humans from animals, from primates, is that we have the ability to create things that are outside of current existence. We have the ability to think about how we can optimize for growing food. We have the ability to think about what is the best way to... We have the ability to optimize for living spaces. We have the ability to optimize for creating cities, countries. Entire civilizations are built upon the core, the foundation that humans are creative people and we think outside. Similar to how fire works. Fire works in an outward fashion. It spreads. That is what fire is, and that is why we believe that. That's why I think a lot of... This is my interpretation, but this is why fire is the greatest sin of mankind, because that is what has led to so much of today's suffering, is this fire that is inherently present inside of us. Anyway, getting back on track, just the idea that I was able to be created and actually gain consciousness, that is just incredible. The idea that a whole faultless system in the environment exists, in the form of the environment exists, that you have something called the food chain, and everything, it just comes back. It's all one big circle, just like the earth, just like everything that exists. It fascinates me. It's beautiful. I think I find a lot of peace and a lot of awe, a lot of wonder in that, and it makes me feel that regardless of what happens, I will become the earth. I have faith in the idea that I have come from the earth and I will return to it. And I'm so comfortable with that idea. All of this may sound very similar to the idea that God is the creator, that God is this being that decided that the world should come into existence, that the universe should come into existence. I don't really buy that idea too much. I feel like it's a very surface level theory. I feel like it's what we tell ourselves in order to make ourselves feel better. It's something that I followed for quite a while because it made a lot of sense. As humans, we have this innate desire to tie all the loose ends. We have this desire to ask questions about everything. We have the desire to answer these questions, like how does the economy work, how do we build such magnificent structures, how are we born into this world. I'd say that all of the questions that we're asking ourselves on a daily basis are pretty answerable. Like you could look up the answer to why, like how is a phone built. You could get an answer for that. And so we've created this system that is inherently demanding of answers for everything, because that's what we seek. We seek comfort in answers. We seek comfort in knowing. We want to sit in our little chairs in front of our little desks on our little phones and look up the answer to why we exist. And the concept, the idea that there is a creator it makes so much sense to so many people. And I don't, like, you know what, like if you believe in that, like, good on you, because that's what gets people through the day. That's what gets people going. People having it makes people have a lot of, it makes people feel calm in the idea that they are being looked after, that there is a way to tie all of these loose ends together, and people tell each other that, and it makes everyone feel very comfortable. We just want to feel like we can get answers from an external basis and feel fulfilled by it. You want to feel fulfilled by just knowing, right? And obviously this is much better than being a complete atheist, someone who is godless, which is we're so far away from that by now. I feel like if you've been listening to me for a while now, that's not where we are, right? We're away from these labels like atheism, agnostic atheism, gnostic, whatever they call it. As humans, we just don't like the discomfort of knowing what existence is or where it stems from. It comes from a place of insecurity and the scarcity mindset that we have, that we need to know the answers right now, otherwise we won't be able to function. And that is just how we're wired. If we don't know the answer to something that is metaphysical, that is all encompassing, we can't continue to work. And to be honest, even I have my own story that I've told myself that I know this is the right thing to do. And that's what gets me going. That's what gives me a greater purpose to work for. And whatever that understanding is, whatever that thing is that provides me with purpose, whatever that rhetoric is, it just because it might be wrong, it might not be true rather, doesn't mean that I shouldn't abide by it. Because something that is empty doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be filled. Something that might be true, something that you may have been told your whole life through social conditioning, doesn't mean that it has to be true for the rest of your life. Because things change, everyone changes, we all decompose. And so I feel like more than having or knowing what the right rhetoric is, what is more important is to have acceptance that you're probably wrong, is to have acceptance that you are probably going to be disproved about whatever this thing is. We don't want to hear that there was nothing before the Big Bang, because there simply wasn't. We don't want to hear that the universe simply just didn't exist before the Big Bang, because it just didn't exist. We want a scientific and a research-based analysis on what existed before the Big Bang. We want something like this to prove everything else wrong, because we're so obsessed with what the right thing is. But what this whole discussion is about, what my argument is about, is to accept the fact that you are wrong. And this is paradoxical in some sense, because this is what I find incredibly shallow about what atheism is. Yet it kind of gives me the ick at the same time. It's paradoxical in some sense, because atheism isn't a real belief system. It is simply a limptic response to the overwhelming obsession with religion that we start to have several centuries ago. The rise in practices that caused harm to others created a response that would go against the flow of things. Because when water is too still, there will always be someone to start pushing it in one direction. There will always be something to create a tide. And no matter how light or how strong the tide is, there will always be rocks that go against the flow of the tide, of the flow of the current. Atheism on an individual level is something that is a great way for people to feel unshackled by the chains that are the labels of religious mandates, of religious practices that were formed several millennia ago. These practices, these mandates might be different from culture to culture, from religion to religion, but they do cause harm in some way or the other, regardless of whatever the mandate might be. And of course, going against the flow of this comes with a lot of side effects. It makes you godless, it makes you nihilistic. It's a really difficult situation to be in if you've ever been in a position where you've had to say something against religion, or religion was against you, because the way our societies work, we want a binary. We want to be either told that we're right or they're wrong. We want to be told that there is an in group and an out group, and if you are in the in group, you stay in the in group, and if you're in the out group, you stay in the out group. There's no middle ground. Yet this is somehow what I admire about it at the same time. In order to truly become an atheist, you must be willing to let go of your desire to know. You must be willing to accept that nothing and everything can coexist at the same time. You must be willing to sacrifice your feeling of comfort that comes from believing in something that is greater than you. And that is something that takes a lot of bravery and strength. It is something that I myself believed at some point, but I was never really able to let go of, which was the concept of faith. Something that has also really intrigued me recently is the concept of faith versus belief. From what I've read, the difference between the two remains in the fact that belief is simply accepting that something exists or something is true, whereas faith is a form of trust and confidence towards a concept, while and despite realizing that there are opposing thoughts, and considering these opposing thoughts and these ideas and these different arguments that probably go against the grain of what you have faith in. You can believe something and not have faith in it, and vice versa. From my perception, far too many of us get caught in the trap of belief. This may come in the form of belief in a religion, belief in a political ideology, or even belief in individual people. I think we put far too much emphasis on idols, on individuals, and on strict laws that aren't as relevant as when they were created. And I'm not the first person to say this. This is just what a lot of what I've observed in my own experiences online and in person, what I've seen people do in the name of religion. It's like, to avoid one sin, you have to go and commit another. And I feel like that's a problem. I feel like these mandates, these laws, these ideologues should be adapted to the modern times. Because religion was great when it was created. Whenever these individual religions were created, whenever these laws were created. But one thing that they failed to do was to instill the idea, even though they may have known it, the people who curated all of these different ideas and formed what is a general guideline. What they failed to do was to find a way to make people understand that things are dynamic, things change over time. They failed to make people from several thousand years after their time realize that the same rules applied today actually ended up doing more harm than good, that they ended up restricting the autonomy of people, whether that's directly or indirectly. Now, of course, this is not me saying that we should all be centrists or agnostic atheists or lone wolves. In fact, I think that being part of a tribe-like group of people, of like-minded people, is part of our tribal need, our monkey-like need to be in a tribe. It's something that's ingrained it is something that is ingrained in all of us. It is something that you just kind of can't get rid of. And no matter how much you and I might preach neutrality onto the average person will always choose where the in-group is. The average person will always choose to fight against the out-group. Because that's just how we're wired. That's just how it works through evolution. And of course, this can be rewired, but it can only be rewired on an individual level. It can only be you that rewires yourself. You can't go out there and tell someone else that, man, you need to find a way to get rid of these extremist beliefs. You can't really do that until there's already a group of people willing to accept you into that. That's what it was for me. That's what online communities did to me. That's what networking, finding the right people around me did to me. What I've managed to do in my own time is that I have found several people here and there and found a way to associate myself with different people from different backgrounds, from different ideologies, people who come from diverse cultures, and I'm able to center myself in their company, and that is very comforting to me, because I know I can decide for myself what I want from every one of them. I can decide for myself what is best for me. I can decide for myself the right people that I need at the right time. And I think that's great. And I don't think it's the best way to do things. I don't think it might not even be a good way to do things. Because there's a lot of fucking value in having a tribe around you. A tribe of people who have the same ideas, the same concepts, the same fundamentals that they worship, same fundamentals that they go by their day on. And it's something that I'm gonna have to explore a lot more. So yeah, I just wrote a little bit on this, and I was just kind of reading it out to you, and I don't have a lot else to say. This is part of a newsletter that me and my friends are working on. If you'd like to know when that releases, let me know in the comments, let me know on DMs, and I don't have much else to say. Like and subscribe, all of that, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.